In the matter of the people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson, case number BA097.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Okay. If you're good to go, we're good to kick things off.
I'm good to go. Let's do it.
Cool. I'm not Farz. I am Farz.
Wow.
Welcome.
So far, so good.
I've been at brunches and drinking espresso martinis since like fucking 10 a.m. So like I'm having a hard time. Welcome to Doomed to Fail, the podcast where we explore two stories, one historical, one true crime, around red flaggy relationships that were doomed to fail. I'm Farz, joined here by Taylor. Hi, Taylor.
Hello.
There we go. We got some pep. We got some pep in Taylor's step. We're both a little out of it. Well, I'm a little out of it. Taylor's hosting a lot of people, and yeah, there's a lot going on in both of our lives at the moment. So
It's true. I'm sitting on the floor. I'm in my bedroom, but I felt uncomfortable sitting on the bed. So my computer's on the bed and I'm sitting on the floor.
yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
Are those trays? Just random trays behind you, or what is that?
Yes, because I do have a plan. So someday we're going to renovate this house and add like another room. And so I'll have to move my office. So when I move my office in this hypothetical situation in the far future, I want to do a dark blue wall with a mirror in the middle and then just like as many silver platters as I possibly can around it. So these are my first 3 silver platters.
So is there like some symbolism to that?
Nope. I just
Okay.
have dope style and I want to put it in my office.
You do have dope style. You do have
Yeah.
dope style. I think I might steal that from you now, actually. And for some
gonna be
reason,
cool.
came up with it.
Yeah.
Cool. So Taylor, I, per usual, am wondering who goes first. I think it's me.
I think it's you.
Okay, it is me. So why don't you share your drink, and then I'll share my drink and my story.
That's good. So this week we are drinking the blood of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Wow. Okay, man, you went all the way in.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So whet your
We got some-
appetite for some dead guy blood.
We got some wine.
Hmm.
Okay, no flesh, just the wine piece.
Yeah. You don't want to like dampen the buzz by eating too. We're just gonna drink.
It's true. It's true. So I told Taylor that it's been like a boozy Sunday for me. It like started with like brunch and having espresso martinis, and it just kept snowballing from there. So I'm just going to call out espresso martinis as being delicious. They're absolutely amazing.
They are.
One of the best drinks you can have in the morning. Not every morning, but like some
Yeah.
mornings.
Oh, a nice weekend vacation morning, long weekend morning. You're
Right.
fine.
Exactly. So that would be my drink, and it has nothing to do with our story. Absolutely nothing to do with my story. But I did have rosé also this morning, like frosé, like frozen rosé. And the name of the person we're talking about today is Rose.
Oh, well, there you go.
It is Gypsy Rose.
Ooh.
Didn't see that one coming, did you?
I didn't see that one coming.
See, because it's so like different, right? It's
Yeah.
abuse between child and parent versus like a couple, which is like a very, very unique dynamic. So the two parties here are going to be Gypsy Rose Blanchard and her mom, Dee Dee. And I'm going to start right off the bat saying that I'm so thrilled that Dee Dee was just fucking stabbed to death and just gutted like a fish. Like that was somebody who absolutely had to be killed.
Yes. No, she's the baddie. 100%.
Like if anything, I feel really bad that the people who killed her were punished at all. Like it's just like it's so unjust to me. So you're aware of this story, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's get into the main characters. Like I mentioned, we are talking about a mother-daughter dynamic. The mother's name is going to be Dee Dee. The daughter's name is going to be Gypsy. Gypsy Rose is what she's referred to. So Dee Dee was born. Her name was when she was born, her name was Claudine Petrie in 1967. She was raised in a pretty large family with 5 siblings. And generally speaking, the assessment is that she's kind of a shithead from birth. Like her family seemed to always dislike her. And apparently they later on suspected that she actually killed her own mother, although nobody could prove anything because why would you? Because everybody's dead, right? Dee Dee ended up dying, her mom ended up dying, so who cares? But long story short, yeah. Well, there's actually a lot more to like how Dee Dee's dynamic with her family plays out, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So Dee Dee later on ended up meeting a guy named Rod Blanchard when she was 24 and he was 17. I saw the guy, I saw interviews with him. Like, he's like a normal dude. Like, he's just like he's not what you would think of as like an average 56-year-old guy. Like, he's actually like super put together. Like,
Yeah,
he was definitely like Dee Dee definitely punched above her weight by hooking up with Rod, is what I'm gonna say.
I totally agree. I feel like I gathered that from things as well. Like he was, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a good dude. And then obviously like in this situation, so she's 24, he's 17. Obviously it's like a one night stand situation where she gets knocked up. Rod
Mhm.
is clearly trying to extricate him from the situation. So he leaves Dee Dee, obviously. And then shortly after the separation, Dee Dee gives birth to their child, Gypsy, who will become the other main character of today's story. So Dee started being kind of a helicopter parent in the worst way almost immediately with Gypsy. So she was convinced early on that Gypsy had different issues. One of the main issues I heard was sleep apnea, was one of the things that she kept saying, like, Gypsy has sleep apnea, so we have to take her to the hospital. And she would take her to the hospital and do overnight like testing with doctors all the time. Like, it was like over the top level of like trying to fake this is the part, Taylor, where like I don't actually know how I feel about this. Like, was the person crazy to begin with, or were they over the top parenting and then turned? I don't know what it is. I know that she turned crazy and insane eventually, but I don't know how. It started with like an infant, like they have sleep apnea. Like, what are you talking about? Like, kids don't get sleep
Yeah.
apnea. Like, that's like for like old heavyweight or overweight people. Like, anyways, like my assessment was like she probably started out having some sort of psychological issues to begin with, and that's how it started.
The mom,
Early.
Dee Dee.
Dee Dee,
Or
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's funny because I was thinking about this, how little I take care of myself. So recently, Taylor, it's really funny because I started tasting like copper in my mouth constantly, and like
Okay.
I'd occasionally just like I would like be in the shower and I'd spit and there'd be like it would be pink, and I'm like,
Farz.
what
What
is
the
going
frick?
on? Like, it's like my body is like deteriorating before my eyes. Like, it literally just started, and I'm like, how did this happen? But I'm gonna get it taken care of. I'm gonna take care of.
What? What
But
is that? What could it be?
so I read that it could be gum disease, but a gum disease
Okay.
is usually preceded by halitosis, and like I don't have bad breath. Like,
Huh.
well, the way you breathe breath right there
No,
is
you
like,
don't, but I just hope that you don't die. So I'm glad you should go to the doctor.
yeah, I'm gonna go to the dentist. But like I was just thinking about it in the context of like this woman would pursue such insane medical care for her kid, and I'm just sitting here like, I don't know, my fucking gums are bleeding, my heart stops every 3 minutes, and I'm just like, whatever, I'll work it out whenever I work it out. She was like over the top obnoxious, so that, like, to the extent where like doctors would start telling people, other doctors, just like ignore her, like just don't deal with this and push her aside. So that's basically like how Dee kind of came across, just super overbearing, over the top, and yeah, she felt like she was doing the right thing as a mom, or she was crazy. I don't know. I don't know if it was doing the right thing as a mom or she was crazy. TBD. What do you think?
I think she's crazy.
Okay,
I think she just wanted the attention.
but with like a child, with like a baby.
I mean, it's like a literal psychological disease, the
Yeah.
Munchausen by proxy. Like it's a thing. Like there's been other cases of it, you know?
So I researched that. It's actually called Munchausen Syndrome by proxy.
Well, close. I just missed the word syndrome.
No, I know, because I'm telling you now, because earlier on in the later on in the outline, I wrote Munchausen by proxy syndrome, and then I got to the very end and I was like, let's research this disorder, and then I found out it's Munchausen syndrome by proxy, and then I changed the end but not the middle. So when I say it, I'm going to say it wrong,
Okay,
and
great.
just note that. So okay, going back to the story. So at one point in Gypsy's childhood, Dee Dee made her use a walker because she basically told her she had muscular dystrophy and that she required it to walk. And Gypsy, like, she does what her name's so stupid that it makes me like I feel bad saying this. It's like, oh, Gypsy, of course Gypsy believes her Gypsy soul, but it's like it's any kid,
Well,
right?
it's
Like
from
any kid.
that's from a movie.
Is it?
Gypsy Rose Lee is like a person.
Oh, okay. I
Um,
learn something new every time. But like my point being, like it's like a kid. Like any kid is gonna believe what their parents tell them, and Gypsy believed it. She believed that she had muscular dystrophy, and she would use a walker, and later on she would use a wheelchair as well. So going back to part of like how Dee Dee was trying to manipulate this situation, she started downplaying how old Gypsy was. So, for example, there were stories of when she was 8, or sorry, when she was 10, she would tell people that Gypsy was 8. When Gypsy was 18, she would tell people that Gypsy was 14. There's no consistency in terms of the age differential, but she would constantly change this age because she wanted her to seem younger and more ill, and all it's all the
Right.
process basically.
Oh my God.
Suffice to say, it seems obvious, but Gypsy was homeschooled, obviously, which just gave all the control to the mom. In one bit of interesting trivia I learned, I also literally just downloaded the Harry Potter game, so it's like it's awesome and it relates to this as well, is that Gypsy only learned, despite the fact that she was doing homeschool lessons, she only learned how to read because she taught herself so she could read Harry Potter books.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this kid taught it herself how to read, and literally Harry Potter was the reason why. And also the video game is fantastic. Hogwarts Legacy, if you don't have it, go download it.
We talked about it before.
Yes, I'm sure we have. So ultimately, Dee Dee would fall in hard times and move in with her father and her stepmother. She really, really apparently disliked her stepmom, and apparently that was a mutual feeling all around. It was suspected that she was actually poisoning her stepmom with weed killer. It's crazy.
Dee Dee was?
Dee Dee was her stepmom, and later on, I'm gonna get to this. Like they moved away, they moved into their own house after this, and then immediately the stepmom got well. Like she was sick, she would always be sick, horrible circumstances, and then Dee Dee and Gypsy leave, and all of a sudden she's fine, and everybody's like, "Yep, she was poisoning her." Is basically the assessment they come to. So assume she killed her mom, assume she poisoned her stepmom, and she did what we know she did to Gypsy. That's who Dee Dee was. One thing that was interesting was that her parents also thought the way she treated Gypsy was really messed up, and they would constantly confront her on it and be like, "This isn't normal. Like, it's clear she can walk on her own. Like, she would like stand up. Like, she would like do her own thing." And she's like, "No, she needs a walker. She has to be in a wheelchair." And it's like, "No, she doesn't. Like, we can see what she's doing. Like, she's totally fine."
So weird.
And so, yeah, and that was part of the divide that resulted in Gypsy and Dee Dee leaving the house and moving to a part of New Orleans, which is where the story kind of picks up around like when Katrina was going to hit, which was like a big part of this. Actually, I'm gonna talk about that a little bit. So, I kind of going to talk shit a little bit, like because I feel like Dee Dee's kind of like a type of person. So she was one of those, like, she's always on public assistance, always on welfare, never works, just literally goes to the hospital, takes her, like, I partially think that's part of the problem, is like that's what gives her life meaning and value, is my kid is sick and I take care of my kid. And like there's nothing else. There's no career, there's no work, there's no events, conferences, whatever. Like none of that goes on. And so she's like, yeah, I just do this one particular thing. I just take my kid to hospitals constantly back and forth, apparently. Yeah. So, you know, like, I don't know. I feel like that has to be at least a part of it. Like I said, she just subsisted on public assistance and child support from Gypsy's dad, Rod. And yeah, I feel like that might be a part of why she did what she did, was just like I got nothing else going on. Like, this is all I have. I'm going to make this kid more important than she needs to be in her own way.
Exactly. That's exactly the disease.
Yeah. And like I wrote down here, like I could actually go into a lot of detail about all the various treatments that Dee Dee sought for Gypsy, or the various ways that she was like regaled as this hero mom, or Gypsy was regaled as a hero child. But it's like constant. Like it's just like it'd be like 17 hours of like me just talking about like every time something would happen, some weird nonprofit in the middle of nowhere would give them an award for being the bravest child of the week, and then it was just like nonstop. Like she put on a really good act of how to make her seem sick, and also was noted that like when Gypsy didn't act as sick as Dee Dee wanted, Dee Dee would like squeeze her hand to be like, no, perk up. It was like a dog, like training a dog, like how to like act in a certain space. So that was another piece of this as well. Is like that's when it jumped the ship from like, maybe she was like concerned to like, no, she was deliberately trying to make this child seem more sick than she was. It got to a point actually where doctors would perform this is crazy. Doctors would perform surgeries on Gypsy for things that like
she didn't have.
They like kind of existed, but like no reputable doctor would do if they thought it existed to like that extent. Like if you have like webbed feet, for example, a doctor's not gonna say, let's chop your leg off so we can fix your webbed feet. But like that's the extent of like she had issues a little bit, a tiny bit. And doctors would buy into it because like I said, like the doctor community was like, just do what this woman wants. Like she'll never leave you alone. Just get her to shut the fuck up and just do what she wants, basically. Which is like really, really gross. And that kind of segues into the Katrina bit, because I do think that when Katrina hit and people from New Orleans were relocated, there was already an inherent I feel bad for them nature to this. Mix that with like being a single mom with a child who has like 17 different types of leukemia, apparently. Like it's just like it compounds everything. Like we already had a giving spirit as a society and community after Katrina hit. Layer that on to the fact that you think this child is incredibly sick, and that's what ends up happening. So that's a piece of this as well that I'm gonna like layer in here. Is Katrina hits, they live in New Orleans, and they're relocated to Missouri. So yeah, I wrote down how she would like get awards for just like basically existing from every nonprofit in Missouri. They also
I mean, first, if you actually do have a child who has a chronic illness, like it is your life. It is all you can do, you know?
But that's like not what happened.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. That's why people like believed her. You know, that's why she like saw that life and like thought it was something that she could do because it.
I see what you're saying. I see. You're saying like if you are that level of like mentally ill, this is a very easy and plausible way to like get that kind of validation from society.
Yes.
So gross.
So gross. Yeah, no, you're literally using your child as like a gross pawn. And the doctors being involved, I think, is wild. Like, I feel like I know you need to like get second opinions and like think twice before you do things with doctors, but doctors they should know better.
So
they should know better.
So they did. So there's one doctor I'll get to here in a moment that literally was like, no, I saw what was going on, and I was like, she does not have muscular dystrophy. Like she can walk. Like she has the musculature and the joints strength and all that stuff to actually walk and be ambulatory on her own. But literally the other doctors in their community, that guy actually called her other doctors. So this is a Missouri doctor. He called her doctors in Louisiana and was like, does this girl have muscular dystrophy? Like, she's like, no, we did all the tests. She does not have it. Like he confirmed all of this, but then everybody was like, in the doctor community was like, this woman's a fucking pain in the ass. Like just leave it alone. Like don't deal with this. Like, which is like,
what? You know, they're supposed to first do no harm. Isn't that their oath?
Yeah. There's a part of it where it's like, okay, so if you're just like, if this is your job and you treat it like your job, I can get why you're like, I'm just gonna check out of it. But it's more than a job when you're a doctor, right? Like you go layer beyond that. So like maybe this guy 100%. Should have had that level of commitment and investment in this. But no, that guy actually comes up a lot later on because he was the only person who went on the record at some point saying, I think this is Munchausen Syndrome by proxy. Like that has to be what's going on because this girl should be able to walk. All the tests indicate they should be able to walk. So, but anyways, so going back to like what ends up happening. So they moved to Missouri, and again with Katrina hitting, everybody has this giving spirit. They end up getting a house for free through Habitat for Humanity. With wheelchair ramps and everything. Like those are newsworthy, right? So the media starts paying attention to Dee and Gypsy, it's like they film them walking to their new house or rolling into their
Yeah,
new
yeah,
house, whatever
yeah.
it is. Like it's a
People
whole
love that
thing.
shit. Yeah.
Love that shit. It's like, oh, here's like a single mom with a very, very sick child who, is getting something in life. They would constantly get free stuff. So they would get free
Yeah.
tickets to like Disney, to concerts. She was one of the Make-A-Wish Foundation kids, so she would get like
Mm-hmm.
whatever she wanted from there. At this point, it seemed as though Dee Dee's expectations of their life experiences were basically entirely dependent on Gypsy being so super sick. Like,
Of
if
course.
Gypsy's
Yeah.
not super sick, then we don't have this dope life. So, one thing to note at this point is Gypsy has no idea how old she actually is.
Oh my God.
Like I mentioned, her mom keeps downplaying her age. So, there's one story where her dad, who like tried to be involved, actually, again, like this guy's not a shithead.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
he tried to be
totally.
involved. He wanted to like call her and congratulate her on her 18th birthday. And Dee Dee goes, this is a quote. She goes, okay, but don't tell her how old she is because she thinks she's 14.
What?
Crazy. So that's where I would say that dad isn't the greatest guy in the world. Is like, come on. You
Yeah.
didn't think
Question that.
something was sus here? Like,
But he
yeah.
thought that she was sick too, right? Like he believed her.
Yeah, he did. He did. Yeah, he was involved, but not involved to the extent of like, I've been in the ER for the last 8
Right.
weeks. Like it's like how can you doubt that? How can
Is
you doubt when
muscular
someone's like,
dystrophy, is it genetic at all?
I don't know. I don't
I
know.
just wonder if like he could have been like, oh well, maybe our family has it. That's weird. But I
Yeah, I
don't know.
don't know. Well, she said she said that Gypsy had like muscular dystrophy, that she had cancer. So she would shave. I was gonna get to this a little bit later, I'll bring it up
Ugh,
now. She would shave her head.
it's awful.
Yeah, she would shave her head to make her seem like she had cancer. And this I didn't actually write down in the outline. She had her saliva glands removed. And so because of
What?
that, yeah, she had her saliva glands removed. I forgot like who did this, what doctor did this, but like she had that done. And apparently, I don't know what the saliva glands do outside of generating saliva, but apparently it has a pretty dramatic impact on the health and longevity of her teeth. So her teeth literally all fell out because after she had her saliva. So she looked, dude, imagine this. You're looking like a 14-year-old girl, bald
Yeah,
head.
when you lose your teeth, you lose your face.
Yeah, bald head, no teeth. It's just gum staring at you, and it's like, of course she has leukemia. Of course she has whatever disease the mom says, right? Like it's
Did
so
she do that on purpose? Her teeth would fall out?
she didn't do it on purpose because the teeth would fall out. What I read was that she would apparently Gypsy would like drool, which like I don't totally understand, but apparently Gypsy
Hmm.
would drool and the mom was like over it, and for some reason or somehow she convinced the doctor to remove her saliva glands. So I'm like, that has to be again, that had to be like a procedure done in the Philippines or something. Like it can't be like a
That's so serious of a
yeah,
thing. Oh
yeah,
my God.
yeah. No, she was horribly abused. Like that's the thing that's like that precedes every discussion of what ends up happening at Dee Dee's. Like she was a monster. Like
I wonder, are you going to talk more about Munchausen syndrome by proxy?
no, I'm. You know what? I
'Cause
probably should have done a bunch of research on that. But like I got to the point where I like was like I'm calling this the wrong thing, and that's basically it.
so I wonder, I mean, I feel like, well, most psychology is like new, in the past like 100 years or 200 years or whatever.
Yeah.
I wonder how many times this has happened like in the history of the world where like a parent has been like, I need help because I have this child, whatever, or like had a little bit of attention and then like continue to do it. Or like maybe they were like, oh, my baby died and I got a ton of attention. So they just like did it again, stuff like that. I wonder.
I
I'm sure it's
mean,
happened before
this
for all of
feels
time.
like an extreme version of that. Like
It is, but like, I don't know, I feel like it's in the news every couple of years, someone kills their kid.
yeah, I can believe that. Having surgery, like getting to the point where you do surgery and stuff is like kind of intense, but
Oh yeah, and that's 100% on the doctors. That's 100% on the doctors.
100%. Yeah, totally
Yeah,
agree. Like,
yeah,
I don't know how you convince a doctor to take the fucking saliva glands out of a child, but that's crazy. I mean, that
yeah.
was the reason why she lost her entire teeth. Again, I don't know what the dynamic is. I don't know why saliva glands, what that has to do with like teeth longevity, but that
Whatever.
happened.
Yeah.
So, and you see the pictures. If you look at pictures of her, you can see she has
I
no
want to look
teeth.
her up.
Like,
Poor
yeah,
girl.
yeah, it was awful. Yeah, like I was like, I wrote here, I was like, she gave birth to a perfect, healthy baby and turned her into like this crazy disabled person through this treatment. It's like it's insane to how you can do that to someone. Yeah. Yeah, and there was this one physician in Missouri who was like ran blood tests on her, was like her blood tests were all normal. We ran tests on her standing up and her ambulatory skills, and they're normal. She's normal. Like there's nothing wrong with her mobility whatsoever. And that was the point when like everybody was like, she called the doctor in Louisiana, was like, yep, everything's normal. And other doctors were like, stop it, like just drop it. Like just drop the topic. This woman's a fucking pain in the ass. Like she'll never leave you alone if you don't drop this. And he just dropped it. Which like again, I'm of two minds of it. As a professional, I'm like, yeah, it's not my fight to win, but it's like as a doctor, isn't it kind of your fight to win? I don't know.
It's 100% their fight to win. That's their job.
Yeah.
You know, and they took on that responsibility when they became a fucking doctor, you know? Like you can have my job, but no one's gonna die if I don't do my job, you know? But if you have a job where someone's gonna die if you don't do it, then you need to fucking do it.
As
you know?
You know what though, Taylor, as famous podcasters, don't you think that we save like one suicide a week by being awesome and
Dozens
funny?
of lives have been saved by listening to this.
There you go.
Dozens. I mean, just like regular lives. Like people were like, what is my purpose? And listen to this, and they're like, now I have a purpose. I'm not sure how or why.
The crown we wear is heavier than you think, I think.
For all 5 of you.
Stop downplaying it.
Bless us. Bless you. Bless you 5.
No. We're blown up. We're gonna be famous. So going back to the story, Gypsy eventually reached the age where she started having an interest in boys and wanting to do things other than just basically pretending to be an invalid her entire time. And she ended up actually.
I'm so sorry. I have nothing to yell about. You say reached the age, like she doesn't even know how old she is. So like, she's
but I
probably
think
like,
it happens, right? Like it's like
no, I know, but
when
like,
I started liking girls, like I didn't know how old. I don't remember how old I was. It was just like one day you wake up and like, oh wow, like that's cool.
no, what I'm thinking is like, how long was she going to pretend she was a teenager? Was she gonna like keep moving and like pushing it back until she was like 30? You know?
Yeah, she actually faked her birth
game?
certificate. Actually, like she went over the top. Like she literally went to the extent of faking her birth certificate to try and make her seem younger. That actually comes up here in a minute. Like the fact that she did that. Like, yeah, I don't know what the game plan was. It feels like there's not a lot of strategy here, but it didn't work. Like no matter what it was. But actually, Gypsy seems kind of cool. Like this is the part where it's like not so sinister. Is like she gets into comics and she goes to Comic Cons and she meets guys there and like does all this stuff. And that's actually where it goes sideways. Her mom finds out that she's at this like hotel room with this guy at a Comic Con, and she shows up and she brings a forged birth certificate that I think said she was like 15 or 14 or something along those lines, and just shoved in this guy's face saying like, hey, you ever contact her again and you're going to jail for the rest of your life. Like this is going to be statutory rape situation. Like it was fake. Like she was 18, like she was an adult, and the mom faked this birth certificate and dragged her back home. So that was an ongoing thesis here, is like her finding slivers of escape and then being drugged back to this hellish existence.
Mm-hmm.
It was after this situation that Gypsy meets the other, I'm going to call protagonist of the story, who's a guy named Nicholas Gojan. They met online and they grew rather close with one another, close enough to where the two started discussing getting married at one point, and they would eventually meet in person and kick off like a sexual relationship between the two of them. Apparently Gypsy was like very self-aware of what was going on in this situation, so like she told Nicholas what was happening with the mom, and this is when they started kind of plotting out how to just get Dee Dee out of the equation, apparently. So part of this was we escape, the other part was we kill her. So like it was like a balancing of two ideas, and the idea was that we got to go with that we kill her situation because that's the only way to be truly free of this woman. Which, like, I also want to kill her. I never met this woman in my life. I would gladly hold her head underwater until she stopped breathing. Like, she sounds like the worst human. Like,
I mean, at the very least, she should be in jail. Like, she should not have a child.
Taylor,
no, at the very least,
admit she should be dead. Admit you.
No, I don't know. I agree with you. I think she's better off without her. You know, she's a terrible human being. I know this is a pattern for you, but no, I think at the very least she should not have that child. Like she should not be allowed to continue to do what she does. Yeah.
So gross. So by this point, Gypsy is like obviously fully aware that there's a life outside of what she's been experiencing. She's down with this, like,
I mean, good for her. Thank God for the
yeah,
internet sometimes.
yeah, no kidding, no kidding.
Sometimes fuck the internet, but sometimes good job, internet.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. And at this point, she'd been, because she understand. I mean, I know she doesn't know how old she is, but you get that, like, you don't vibe with, like, I know I don't vibe with like a 15-year-old. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't need to. You don't have to tell me I'm 38. Like, I know I don't. There's a difference there, right? And so she understood that things weren't exactly what they were, and she kind of evolved beyond it. So I will say this. I love what Nicholas ended up doing to Dee Dee. I think it's awesome. Like, I want to make Christmas cards with him stabbing her to death and send it to all my friends and family. But I also think it's a little fucked up because it's kind of like you don't even know this woman. And
Yeah,
this girl really,
is his life ruined essentially?
yeah, yeah. Life in prison, first degree murder. Like, he's done. He's done for. But it's like I love what he did, but I'm also like, man, you could also just tell her, like, hey, let's like go to Cancun. Like
It like it wasn't his responsibility or job to do that. But like, because so many people failed her, I feel like.
yeah, all the doctors,
Mhm.
psychologists, therapists. It's funny you said that because, again, like, the dad and the stepmom who was being poisoned consistently, when all this ends up happening, they were like, yeah, she deserved it. Like, literally her dad and her stepmom were like, we're glad that she's dead. She deserved this.
I mean,
Crazy.
I have like family members who are annoying, but like I don't have anyone like deeply, deeply toxic. Like
Yeah.
that's a whole different thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this all escalates in June of 2015. Gypsy and Nicholas start kind of putting their plan of how to extricate themselves under Dee Dee's grip in action. Gypsy basically lets Nicholas in the house while Dee Dee is asleep. She hands him a knife. She hands him gloves. She hands him duct tape. Like, it was like a whole plan. And the idea was for Nicholas to kill Dee Dee. Like, that's the thing that's like interesting is like you go from this like extreme of like, I'm a goo goo gaga baby to like, let's fucking kill the bitch. Like, it's just so crazy how
Yeah.
that flip happens. But I can imagine the rage has to be over the top. I don't know what it's like. My parents did not treat me like I was an invalid, fucking half my age, most of my life. But like, I can imagine her, like, the rage has to be so real that makes you like think that way. But so Nicholas goes in the house, and yeah, the whole plan was, Nicholas, you do this. You go, you kill Dee Dee, and yeah, like, it was a great outcome for everybody in the world. Nicholas ends up stabbing her 17 times in her bedroom until she dies, which is fucking awesome. Like, kudos to him. I don't want to be friends with him. I don't want to have like a barbecue with him. But like,
I'm gonna say again, Nicholas, it's not a happy ending for him.
totally not a happy ending for him. But he's also fucked up because who would do that?
That's true. Right.
So
Not everyone would just be like, yeah, totally.
it's like the whole the joke that Juan laughed at that one time. You just trip over fucking scumbags every now and then.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, how this guy's just like randomly. I've met a lot of women, and any number of them could have asked me to kill somebody. I wouldn't have done it. Like, it's so over the top extreme.
That's true.
But this happens, and then shortly afterwards, I mean, they spend a few days in hotels, and then they make their way up to where Nicholas lives, up in Wisconsin. During this time, apparently Gypsy was logged into Dee Dee's Facebook account. It would post comments to, like, as her, and one of them was, "The bitch is dead." Like, it's just like, you're the worst criminal in the world. You're the worst criminal that's ever existed. And she would just post this stuff, and so people started being like, what's going on? Like, because think about it, everybody who knows him is like this sweet family of this invalid child, and like now it's like, this bitch is dead. It's like, what? Like, where the fuck
Right.
did
Like,
that
who would
come
even
from?
say those words?
Who would say that anyways? Much less like a child who's like an invalid at 12 years old. So friends and neighbors started getting concerned. They called the police. Police ended up searching the house, and they found Dee Dee's body. Yeah, I wrote down how everybody, when this happened, was so concerned for Gypsy because everybody in the town was like, this poor kid has no options. Like, whoever, the fact that she's not here and the fact that her mom is dead means that she is probably on her way to dying soon as well, because she doesn't have her medicine, her air tanks were at home, her wheelchairs. Like, how
Did
is
she
this
get
kid gonna...
kidnapped?
Yeah,
Yeah.
all of it.
Oh, totally.
And so everybody's mostly just concerned about the kid. One of Gypsy's friends who was in town and knew about Nicholas mentioned that they were like kind of a thing, and police started looking into him. And they reached out to Facebook and asked Facebook to run IP traces on Dee Dee's Facebook account, and they ran the traces because the posts were so unusual that like it obviously drew red flags.
Mhm.
And they were like, these are all originating from Wisconsin, and they knew that she was seeing a guy from Wisconsin, so they're like, oh, this is Gypsy, and they end up going to Wisconsin. There they end up arresting them, and it was obvious. Like, these were not master criminals. They were kids. They were scared kids. I know the crime sounds brutal, but it's like they were just stupid kids. Like, you know, Nicholas is a kid. Gypsy was like more than a kid. Like, I don't even know how to explain. Like, she was like so stunted in her growth and her development. Like, so they immediately caved and admitted what they ended up doing. Everybody admits that the plan was for Nicholas to go in the house. It was unanimous. Like, both Nicholas and Gypsy were like, yep, this was the plan. Like, they all came together on that piece of it. And what I found really interesting about this case was that the prosecution could have pursued the death penalty. So Missouri has the death penalty as an option, and this was going to be a first-degree murder charge. They ended up deciding that they're not going to pursue. So like, this is so weird. This is so beyond the pale of anything we've ever seen that like we can't do this. And so they thought it would be like an abnormal degree of punishment to pursue the death penalty, so they didn't. Regardless, Nicholas was ultimately found guilty, as I mentioned earlier, and he got life in prison, which, like, again, thank you, Nicholas, for murdering this woman. The world is better for you having done it. And also, just like, dude, you could have just gone on to the next match on Tinder. Like, you didn't. The fact that you
100%.
wanted to do this is like a little bit weird. So
you're not wrong.
I was writing, if I met a girl on Bumble tomorrow who said kill my mom, I'd be like, yeah, maybe we should think about this a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully you would not do it. How old was he when he did it?
I don't know. I don't know what is.
I don't know if you've. I mean, you do dumb things when you're young, but I also never killed anybody, so it doesn't count as my dumb things.
You've
know
never
what I
killed
mean?
anyone?
No, never.
So
Then the
murder
plan
was
is to
in,
not. Yeah.
so the murder was in 2015. How old is Nicholas? He's 33 now. So in 2015, how many years ago was that? That was 8 years ago? Yeah, 8 years ago. So he's 33 now, so he would have been 25.
All right.
I mean, that's old enough to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
If he was
totally.
like 15, I'd be like, well, blah blah blah. I mean, again, it's complicated because like, yes, she needed to go, but also no, you should not. Like, you should leave it to other people. You should never be the person who does it. Which is,
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
So, Nicholas ends up getting life in prison, which like sucks again. Gypsy got off pretty light. She ended up getting a second-degree murder charge and 10 years in prison. And one of the things that Gypsy said, I read this quote while she was incarcerated. She said, "I feel like I'm more free in prison than living with my mom, because now I'm allowed to just live as a normal woman." Like she
let her just like walk around.
Dude, like she literally feels like prison is like freedom for her. Like, that's so.
And like
so
there was
crazy.
nothing in her experience that would make her feel like there was somewhere for her to go, because like there were adults around her all the fucking time and no one did anything.
Yeah.
Whether or not they were like afraid of Dee Dee or believed Dee Dee or like didn't want to intrude or like just wanted to not deal with her, like whatever. But like dozens of capable adults were around her and did not help
Yeah.
her. Didn't see
Yeah.
it, didn't help her. She couldn't big whatever.
I think
So
like I don't think Gypsy should have gotten any jail time, and I don't think Nicholas should have either. But I also don't want Nicholas to be my neighbor, because if I sneeze the wrong way, he might fucking kill me too. Like, he just seems really easygoing with the stabbing people to death piece. But like, it's just like, as a society, we should decide who we put into a forest and we all hunt. And Dee Dee was one of those people that should have been like the Running Man that we just put into a forest and we all just pursue and try and kill.
that is
And
not the moral of the Running Man. Just I want to
did I get the wrong?
FYI.
Did I get the wrong movie?
Yes. No,
Which
no,
one's the one with Arnold
no,
Schwarzenegger?
that is the Running Man. But I'm saying that the moral of the Running Man is not we should put someone out and everyone should hunt them together. The moral of that is bad.
In this case, it's not that bad. Like, in this case, can we make a pass for this case?
I actually
This
just read the Running Man for
Lobster
the
Boy,
first time.
this case, and that other guy that I talked about, those three can go into the Running Man.
This is becoming a pattern for you.
So yeah, Gypsy ends up getting 10 years on secondary charges. And you know what's funny is like she actually ended up getting married last year. So in June of 2022, she ended up getting married to some random guy. So the guy that killed the mom, man, this is what guys, men, especially younger men, if you're listening to me, never do a thing for women that could impact your life, because it will, like, they will move on and you will be stuck with it. This guy killed a woman for the girl he loved, and that he's in jail for the rest of his life, and she's married to someone else. Like, just don't do it. Just don't do it. You disagree with me?
I don't know. I just feel like you're being a little toxic masculinity right there, because like you can do stuff for other people, but don't break the law for someone. How's that?
Yeah,
Unless, like,
that's good middle.
yeah.
That's good middle ground.
Yeah.
That's not toxic masculinity. That's more like just like,
I don't know, but I feel like
guy's
when you're
gonna
like, oh, for
die
like
in jail.
validation and blah blah blah. Yeah, yes, his life is ruined. A lot of lives are ruined, but not Gypsy's. Her life is better.
But that's my point, is that his life is ruined.
I know.
And her life isn't.
I know.
But he did it for her. So like,
Well, I'm saying just like think twice. I like don't say never to do something for someone.
don't do that's extreme. Not never, but like if it gets to the point when a girl is handing you a knife at midnight as she unlocks a door to her mom's bedroom,
Yes.
think twice. Just think she will marry another man and you will be in jail for the rest of your life. Like, that's what I'm saying.
It's 100% true. Yes.
So yeah, that's basically how the story ends. She's still in jail. Obviously, he's in jail for the rest of his life. Like, he's not going to get out anytime soon. This happened in 2015. So in theory, she will have served her entire sentence and be released in about 2 years. She might get off a little bit early. She might be getting off like in the next year. But that's Gypsy's story. And like I said, I definitely am. The world is a better place because Dee Dee is dead. And that's hard to say, but I truly think that.
Yeah, she just did a lot of bad things.
Awful human. Built nonprofits out of God knows how much money. Built
Oh,
hospitals.
totally. I forgot about that too. Yeah, where could have gone to help someone else.
Dude took a home out of Habitat for Humanity, which could have gone to like somebody who actually needed a home. Like, she was a scumbag. Like, she was just garbage wrapped in skin, like through and through. But anyways, she's dead. Thank God. Thanks, Nicholas.
Hope you're listening.
Yeah, if you're listening, write to us. Tell our agent.
Oh my gosh, so funny. So funny.
That is that is my story. And I wish I had, Taylor, because you mentioned it. Like, I wish I had looked it up, because at the very end of this, I was like, the ultimate cause of Dee Dee's behavior is, and then I looked it up, and it's Munchausen Syndrome by Proxy, which I earlier called Munchausen Proxy by whatever. But I didn't go into the weeds of researching what it actually was or how many instances of it there was. But that would be, that could be an interesting second part of this.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more.
So, what do you have going on, Taylor? We're gonna drink Jesus's blood.
Yes, in the goblet. I don't know. I guess let me take like a sip. Anyway, this is about Catholics. That's why we're drinking that blood.
Good. Yeah, I love it. I went the wedding I went to in Ireland was Catholic.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, yes. Well, first, I wanted to tell you that as I've been working on this outline for like days, and it's whatever. And I was like writing it last night, and my mom and my sister are here. And do you remember like several episodes ago when you said that Lights Out was one of the scariest movies you've ever seen?
So scary.
So I've never seen it. And so Juan was like, we have to see it, because he was like, really wanted us to get scared, So he was like talking about it. Then my mom and my sister are so funny, and they're always like, oh, we've seen every movie. We don't want to see anything again. So Friday night, they were like, oh, we've seen it. We don't want to see it again. And we were like, okay. And then last night, they were like, oh, no, we're not sure if we've seen it or not. And we're like, oh my God, we should just watch it. So we watched it, and it was super fun. It was so scary. 5 minutes in, I was like, I had already screamed. And my mom and my sister wouldn't stop talking because he kept being like, I remember this. I remember this. Oh, I don't remember this part. Da, da, da. Like just talking the entire time. Which like made it more fun, but it was a good one. I jumped a lot. So I feel like I don't do that very often.
Do you think it was one of the scarier movies you've seen?
I think so. It was very scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried watching it again maybe like a month and a half ago, and I couldn't do it. I got like maybe like I finished the warehouse scene and was like, I'm done. I'm good. I can tap out.
That's the beginning. And like the
Yeah.
very first thing that happens, I screamed really loud,
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
which was very fun. So it's a good one. So thank you for that recommendation. I just want to tell you that.
Yeah.
So we're drinking Jesus' blood today because we're talking about Catholics, and I'm breaking the rules again because there are no rules, but I am going to talk to you about a winner, not a loser, who is the most celebrated warrior in all of Czech history. So he's like they call him the Czech Braveheart, like the best warrior in all the Czech Republic. His name is Jan Zizka. So
Jan Zizka, okay.
I'm of Czech origin. My brother Kincaid studied abroad in Prague, and we went to like the little town that we're from right outside of Prague. It was super fun. We like saw where my great grandparents were born and things like that. On my mom's side, my grandma spoke Bohemian, so like from this area, like for like generations back. So I definitely wanted to go back and think more about like my people. And I got here because I was home alone a while ago. There's a movie on Hulu that's it's just called Medieval, like the word. I'm like, what could that possibly mean? So I watched it and then I was like, what the fuck did I just watch? Like I was like, something was weird, like something was off. The guy who plays Jan Žižka is and I'm saying Žižka, I think it's Ziska with a bunch of accents in different places.
Right. Yeah.
And he was played by Ben Foster. Do you know who Ben Foster is?
No, but I'm going to go
He
to
was
my
on the Disney show Flash Forward. That's when he was little, and then he inexplicably dated Robin Wright for a while, and then now he's married to Laura Prepon, the girl from Orange is the New Black in that '70s show. He's
I
like a
do know this
Scientologist.
guy. I do know this guy.
Oh, he's a Scientologist.
Yeah, he was in one of my favorite movies actually.
Which movie?
I'm looking it up right now because I'm trying to remember the name of it. I think it's called The Apprentice or something along those lines.
But he plays Jan in the film, and he looks like very rugged, like he has like a beard and everything. So I didn't really recognize him until later. Michael Caine is in it as well, so it does have some like famous people in it. But when I was watching it, I was like, something's off. Like, what is this? And it is straight up Czech Republic propaganda, is what this film is.
Do we
Um,
dislike that though?
no, I like it, but it was just like that's the weird thing. Because you're like, this feels weird. It's a Czech movie. It's the most expensive movie ever made in the Czech Republic, and it's 100% in English because it like
Yeah.
they wanted to like, share it with the world, which is like fine. I listened to a podcast about the making of the movie, and the dudes who were in it were like, yeah, this is something we learn about in school and want to share it with the world. Like it's what they learn about when they're little. They learn about Jan Žižka and how like brave he was. So they also have a lot of it, like a lot of stuff in the film is made up because they don't know a lot. This is the 1300s, so it's a really long time ago. They don't know what really happened. A lot of the things are like whatever, but when they were making the movie, they had a historian, and the historian kind of like read through everything and watched the finals, and they were like, could this have happened? Like we're not saying it did happen, but we're saying like we don't want to like have a car drive by, or something that we know like could not have happened, but we want like could these things have happened? And then all of it was like yes, like it could have been. So
Do you know what's funny, Taylor? Is I did the research for because I thought I keep mixing up Ireland and Scotland. So when I was in Ireland, I did the research for Braveheart and William Wallace,
mhm.
and I was like, A, it's Scotland, not Ireland, and he was in Scotland, not Ireland, and B, it is considered the most historically inaccurate movie that has ever been made. Like it's crazy. Like it's like they're like nothing about this is close to William Wallace's actual life or his activities. But
I
anyway,
believe that.
yeah.
We're not separating the art from the artist on Mel Gibson.
Right, yeah, we've been,
Let's not do it.
got it.
So anyway, so you should watch it. It's super fun. So this is essentially like listen to some podcasts about this. I read a book about Jan Žižka, and basically this is a relationship between the Czech people who are having their own Protestant Reformation and the Catholic Church. So it's basically like there's going to be crusades, there's going to be tons of wars. So the Czech people some people were kind of pulling away from the Catholic Church and following another Jan, a Jan Hus, and he was like the Czech Martin Luther. So they were like Hussites. So like basically like the thing with Martin Luther and with the Reformations is that the Catholic Church was like you could sell your way into heaven, you could buy your way into heaven. So you would go to church and you would give them money and like jewels, and they'd be like, you're gonna go to heaven. So like it's not obviously it's not true, but like people thought it was true and they were mad about it. Like,
Yeah. It seems
um,
cheap. It seems like a cheap way to get into heaven.
exactly. Like it's cheating. Like it's not how you can do it. So here's what's happening in the Catholic Church. This is very confusing. So we're in like the early 1400s, starting in 1378. It starts to be a crazy thing called the Western Schism in the Catholic Church, where there are all of a sudden there are three popes. And they live in different places, and they're each like, I'm the Pope, but you don't know like which one is the real one. And there's a lot of that kind of at the same time. So the red flag I put is as soon as the Catholic Church started to have this schism and have more than one Pope, you should run because Catholic Church is already awful, and now they have like more popes. So like that's a red flag.
Dude, I do kind of love it though. It's like
It's a
whatever.
disaster.
I'm the Pope. Like, who are you to say I'm not the Pope? Like,
And I know I could research this for like my whole life, but essentially yes. They're like, well, I think I should be the Pope. Like,
yeah.
what? You just like bought a white hat? And you're like,
God.
pretty sure it should be me, guys. So yeah, we'll talk more about like, the different popes, but there's a bunch of them. But Jan himself was born in 1360, probably. Again, like it's hard to go back, but his name is on some property documents. It starts to kind of come up in like legal things around 1378 when he would have been 18. So it's assumed that like that was when he like was able to like do those things, even in that time.
Yeah.
So it could be him. I think that's him. It's a chance that he's younger and born later, but like we'll never know. But one thing we do know about Jan is that he lost an eye when he was a child. It could have been any number of fucking dangerous things in the 1300s. You know, like walking outside, you could lose your eye, I imagine. You know,
Oh
like there's
yeah.
just, you get like a splinter in your eye, it's gone. Like there's just so many things.
Get a
And
splinter in your eye. That sounds
you know what I mean? Like,
awful.
and like, yeah. So I can't imagine how like gross and smelly and dangerous everything was, especially for a child. So like I feel like having a child lose an eye is not a big deal because like at least your child survived because there's so many things going
Yeah.
on. I think it might have been in the last podcast, but I read somewhere where it was like if you're alive in the Middle Ages, you're disfigured because
It was their black.
was it them?
It
Yeah,
was the
because
Black
like
Plague one.
yes, because like no matter what, like you know, if you break your arm's not like going to be set correctly ever again, you know? So like most people are disfigured in some way, and his way was he only had one eye.
God, it's so crazy. It's so true.
Also in the movie, in the medieval movie, there's a woman who's like helping him, and she's like a princess, but there was really no woman like that involved in the story. But he did have two wives, both named Catherine, but they both passed away kind of early. So he is able to kind of go off and be a warrior and not worry about anything at home. So it sounds like his family got into, he was kind of born into the minor nobility. So he wasn't like, well, I was going to say he wasn't dirt poor, but everybody was dirt poor, but he was like poor.
Right.
He was,
Right.
you know, he was like minor nobility. It sounds like his dad had to like sell some of their property, like something happened. He was in debt for some reason. He became a gamekeeper for like the local ruler, and there's a chance that Jan worked there with his dad, but he ended up becoming like a bandit. So after like his at least his first wife died, he may be married to the second wife. It's like the late 1300s, and him and his group, he's not the leader, but he's in a group of dudes, and they go around and they rob and they plunder and they make deals with like different little towns. They're like, oh, well, we'll protect you if you give us money, things like that. So he was like just like a bandit out in the woods. He is out there. Things are like kind of happening, but nothing super crazy. And then all of a sudden we have the Western Schism, so the Catholic Church is going crazy, and that kind of like starts off the Hussite Wars because one of the popes declares a crusade on the Hussites who are in like the Czech Bohemia area trying to have this Reformation.
So is a crusade in this context just a bunch of religious people who follow the Pope as a general, basically?
Yeah, I mean he doesn't actually go.
No,
But
no.
yeah. No. He's not going to spill his wine on his way, you know, out into battle. But yes, he could be like I send a crusade to you. So he sends a crusade of his, like, and we'll talk a little bit about the Teutonic Knights in a second, but essentially they're like the evil, I think is fair, Catholic knights that just like, you know, they were the ones who did the crusades. and kill a shit ton of people for like no reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. I'll agree with you on that.
So the Holy Roman Empire at this time is like all of Europe. And so Jan Žižka is kind of a bandit, kind of fighting for like the people, and then there's Jan Hus, who's like the Martin Luther of the time. In 1415, Jan Hus, the religious leader, was burned at the stake by the Catholic Church, and that surprisingly didn't stop everybody from believing him. It made everybody mad because that's, it riled people up.
Jan
So they
Hus
debate.
was not a pope type. He was just like some guy, part of the Catholic Church, said, "We got to kill you."
Yes, he was like he was like Martin Luther. So he was like, let's bring religion back to the people and not have all these like ways you can buy
Oof.
your way into heaven and
They
everything.
don't like
So
that.
yeah, no, he's burned at the stake. So that triggered a revolt among the Hussites, and they wanted to, start to fight. So here are some of the Pope stories. This is very confusing. So I don't know, I'm sorry. So the first division, the Western Schism that lasted from 1378 to 1417 that I've talked about, there was Pope Urban the 11th, or no, the 6th, who resided in Rome, and Pope Clement the 7th, who was in Avignon, France. So there's one in France and one in Rome, and there's a third one somewhere too. It's Alexander the 5th. He was elected in like a compromise, but he died, and then his successor, John the 23rd, was the third pope.
Got it.
So the third pope, John the 23rd, his real name was Baldassare Cosa, and he was born in 1370 in Naples. I just think that's a dope name.
Oh, yeah.
Baldassare Cosa from Napoli.
God, that guy just can. His blood is wine.
Exactly. So the popes that aren't like the real pope, once they like everything, all the dust settled and like moved back, there were the ones that weren't actually like the real one after all are called anti-popes, which is also a cool name. Some of them are anti-popes.
That's cool than
And
being called a pope.
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
So I think we could do an episode on every pope and all like the shit that they did. Like so many of them did so many bad things, but I just also wanted to mention that there actually was a more recent Pope John the 23rd. This was in the 1960s, and he was born Angelo Giuseppe Roncalli, also Italian.
Wait,
And
Pope John Paul, the one that we grew up with?
no, this is one before that. This is the one from the 58 to 63. But I think this is the one that one was like in our parents' lifetime. And he picked his name, John the 23rd, as a tribute to the first John the 23rd, the one during this in like the 1400s. But he's the one that did the stuff like, we don't need to have Mass always be in Latin. Like Mass was in Latin until like 1960.
Well, they wanted that, right? Because that made them seem like you had to go to them for salvation.
Yeah, and that's the exact thing that like Jan Hus was against and Martin Luther was against 500 years in the past. They're like, yeah, make it accessible to people, and then they like, go crazy with it. Anyway, anti-popes. So all that stuff is happening in the Catholic Church. In the meantime, this is a hard time to like get a lot of information about because it's 1400. There's not a lot of information during this time. It's like the Dark Ages, quote unquote. You're not supposed to say that anymore, but
Really?
it's that. Yeah, because it like implies that nothing was happening, and it also implies that like other parts of the world also weren't great, which is not true because there were just like revolutions and cool things happening in like Asia and like other parts of the world. So anyway, it's this time. In Berlin is about a century and a half after this. So now we have a crusade. Pope John the 23rd declared a crusade against Hussites. And so now they're heading towards Jan Žižka and his people in like Bohemia, Czech Republic area. The first big battle that Jan was a part of is the Battle of Grunwald. It was also known as the Battle of Tannenberg. It was on July 15th, 1410. And it was like the beginning of the Crusades. So it began, it was between like Poland and Lithuania on one side and the Teutonic Knights on the other. So the Pope had sent the Teutonic Knights to do this. So they're an order, a military order of knights that have been active since the 13th century, but really I think since the like 11th century until now, they still exist as like a thing. They had the Battle of Grunwald was, a big battle. The Teutonic Knights had a much bigger cavalry. They had a lot more people, and they went and invaded and they lost. So in Poland and Lithuania, in that area right now, it's a symbol, it's like a national pride. They're like really excited that they beat the Teutonic Knights, and Jan Žižka was there. He probably, he wasn't like a leader, but he was most likely there. So then there's a whole bunch of other battles that Jan Žižka is involved in. He starts to kind of move up and become a leader. He ends up getting like enough, you know, plunder and money and all these things. He has a castle, but he only has one castle. He doesn't like go crazy with it. He's just like really wants to be out there in the field, like with the men fighting.
He's
So,
modest.
a modest castle. No big deal.
Right.
No big deal. In 1419, there's an early battle of the Hussite Wars. It's Žižka he defended the town of Sudomir against like, an army, and he used a thing called a wagon fortress. So he, like I said, like never lost a battle. And one of the things that is because he had a bunch of new military ideas that had never been done before. So one of the things is a wagon fort. So in Czech or German, they call it a Wagenburg in German, but it's like essentially a fortification made out of the wagons. So he would like circling your wagons, but like very seriously and like chaining them together so that you basically made a wall that people weren't able to get past. So in front of the wall would be a ditch. So people would like come like running towards the carts and towards the wagons. Then they would like fall into the ditch and they'd have like that to deal with. And then behind the wagons would be more people that you didn't see coming.
Okay.
So it was
Good
like a
strategy.
way, yeah. So it was a way to like surprise people that hadn't been done before. They also attacked at night, which was like very, very uncommon. I know that's even something that we hear from like the Revolutionary War is that someone attacked at night and no one ever imagined anyone would do that because it's fucking dark.
That happened in Texas. That was how Texans got back at Mexico for the Alamo.
Yep, just do it at night and no one ever expects it. This is also the beginning of like gunpowder weapons. So Žižka was one of like the first people to use gunpowder like in battle. He would put cannons on wagons and like move them around the battlefield, and that had never been done before. So it was like the first like mobile artillery essentially. The Czechs at this time this is just from Wikipedia, but they called the handgun a pistalia and their anti-infantry field guns Hofneis, which are where we get the words pistol and howitzer.
Oh, cool.
So they were like the first people to do that.
Pistalia.
Yeah. So you would like be able to shoot out of the Wagenburg and like out of the wagons in like different ways that just like hadn't been done before. And that's why they kept winning all these different things. So later in the year 1420, there's another battle it's called the Rabbi Castle. And during that battle, he loses another eye.
Jesus.
So now he's totally blind. And he has someone like just like kind of help him like maneuver and get around, but he still commands the troops. And he's still like very active in the military, even though now he's completely blind.
I mean, obviously he's not fighting. He's devising strategy, but like
yeah, but he's like there. He's not there.
The
Pope isn't there, but he's definitely there. There was he was during this time, like he's also fighting like the Teutonic Knights and the Pope, and then also just like the regular military, not military, but like royalty, nobility people who want to be in charge. So one of them is like a King Sigismund that they go back and forth a lot and get in a lot of like, a lot of different like battles. There's a bunch of battles like against King Sigismund, who was actually the Holy Roman Emperor. Actually, they defended a fortified position near Prague. That was another victory there. And then he fought against the Crusaders using the Wagenburg. He fought against them in Germany, so in Nemeki Brod area, and it's like kind of like battle after battle of him, like even after he's completely blind, like still continuing to win, which is why he continues to be like a Czech hero and in like Czech history. So besides all of that, he ended up, fighting and like being a part of it up until his death. He died in 1424, so he would have been about 60. And he actually didn't die in battle or anything. He died of a disease. They said that he died of the plague, but now people are rethinking it and we'll never fucking know. But it said it was kind of more like maybe like a sepsis, like an infection. Also because like everyone had like blistering wounds all the time anyway.
Yeah,
like
makes sense.
It was dirty and
Taylor,
gross.
I missed this part. Was he fighting the Catholic churches?
Yes. He was
That
fighting
was the
the
entire point. He was
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah. He was fighting the Teutonic Knights that the Pope had sent the crusade like against them. So they were fighting that, and then eventually they were like fighting with like the nobility in the area just for like the common person, just for like the regular person to be able to like, understand the Bible. It's, he was very religious, like, you know, do it their own way, and then also be able to just like be able to like have more freedom than the Catholic Church had given them. So that was like the main thing. And then it was him as like a leader of the Hussites who were following Jan Hus from like from the beginning. And so he afterwards, so they had kind of right before Žižka died, they tried to like invade Hungary to like get more land, but like that didn't work. They didn't even really do it. They just kind of like went in, it wasn't going to work, and then like went back. And then after he died, the same thing happened that always fucking happens when like a strong leader leaves, is they had like a civil war within themselves,
Yeah,
within
yeah,
the Hussites. So it was internal divisions. Some people were moderate, some people were more radical, some people wanted to go back to the Catholic Church, others didn't. And then so they ended up like negotiating with the Pope and with the Catholic Church via the Compact of Prague, which was signed in 1433. So it was kind of like a half and half. And then it continued to like just have battles, and people weren't really in it anymore. And then so eventually it totally was by the end of the 15th century, so the end of the 1400s, it was over and they were just dissolved back into the Catholic Church
oh
for,
shit.
whatever Pope happened to be around. So the revolution lasted like 100 years, and it didn't actually ultimately achieve its goal.
Did Going back to Braveheart, he also didn't accomplish the goal because Scotland
Yeah,
is still part of the UK.
I don't know why I'm laughing, but yes.
But if anything, it's like Ireland's the one you should be like respecting. Ireland's the one. North Ireland is part of England, but like the Republic of Ireland, the South part, that's not like they actually successfully seceded from the Union or whatever the kingdom, which sounds like that didn't happen here either.
Yeah,
Weird how we romanticize that.
I know.
Well, it's bravery. It's whether you win or lose, it's still bravery.
Yeah, and it's exciting to like, I mean, it's exciting to think about a knight and to think about like all these like, ancient battles are fun to think about. Medieval battles are fun to think about. You're like logistics are so crazy. Like, I mean, I guess also to talk about Dan Carlin when he talks about like a medieval battle and like an ancient battle, like it's miles long of wagons of
Oh
people,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
he's like, oh, this guy brought like 5,000 people. I'm like, what the fuck do you get 5,000 people to follow you somewhere? Like, and like bring your stuff. We're walking, like
I don't know,
come
man.
on.
I think I could get like at least four people to go to battle with me.
I was gonna say, I wish I could get more than 10 people to listen to this podcast. They're not
No,
following me
we're crushing it.
across Europe.
We're crushing it. Once we do get more than 10 people, that's when it starts. That's when they have to
It's
pay
just like a
attention
snowball.
to us.
Like, oh, why are those people standing in line? Oh, they're going to fight the Catholic Knights. I think we'll win. I don't know. But yeah, it's crazy. You're like, how, okay, like 5,000 people were going on a walk. You need 10,000 shoes. It's too much.
I know when you start doing logistics, you're like, man, I'm just gonna stay at home.
Exactly. Like,
Be
who's gonna
whatever you
figure
want to
this
be. You want to be
out?
Catholic, be Catholic. Who gives a shit?
Who's
Um,
you guys gonna have to stop and pee because I don't have time to stop and pee every 5 seconds for all 5,000 of you.
dude, Taylor, our Pope, the Pope of our childhood, he was born in Krakow, in Poland.
Yeah.
Pope John Paul II. Yeah,
And then there was the one now is Italian or Brazilian?
it's something South American,
Argentinian?
Argentine, yeah, Francis, who seems kind of cool. Who actually, like, I think is kind of cool. It was better than that child molester they put in place, Benedict, or was he a Nazi? I don't remember if he was a child
He
molester or
was
a
a
Nazi.
Nazi. He was
He
in
was
the
a
Hitler
Nazi.
Youth.
I'm sorry. I don't. I'm sorry for besmirching him by calling him a pedophile. He was just a Nazi.
Yeah, no. The Catholic Church is chock full of pedos.
And also those, yeah.
Yes. Yes, I think
Benedict.
that's fair.
Man, this guy looks so scary. Benedict looked really scary. John Paul looked like a sweet old man, but Benedict
Hmm.
actually looked kind of scary. I'm on his profile now.
It's a
Joseph
weird thing.
Aloysius Ratzinger, like the most German dude in the world. Like, of
Joseph.
course he was a nut. He was
Well,
born in
yeah.
1927. I don't even blame him. He was a
No,
German
100%. He was a kid.
born. Yeah, he was a kid
Yeah.
born like 20 years before the end of the World War II. Like, of course, he was 18 when World War II ended. So, like,
Yeah.
yeah, like he obviously was like I have to protect the homeland from everybody else. I don't know. But it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I get it, and also it's still wrong. Like, don't be a Nazi. But I get why you were, but just also it's still wrong.
Yeah. If you see someone being a Nazi, you should stand up and say, "Hey, man, don't be a Nazi." I have a Biden Harris sticker on my car, and I called it a profile on courage because I'm going to drive through this small town with my Biden sticker on my car.
Hey, what do you think's gonna happen? Do you think that Biden's gonna get through the primary? Because I think that he's gonna get challenged. Like, I mean, Bobby Kennedy Jr. is gonna challenge him, but like, man, that is tough to see Biden doing like a debate against like a primary challenger. Like, if we get like a good Democratic candidate up there, like it would be tough for Biden, I think.
No, I don't think so. We don't
You
really
think
do
he'd do
that.
it?
No. I mean, we don't, Republicans do that, but Democrats don't really do that.
I think Bobby Kennedy's gonna try.
Well, yeah, but he's a piece of crap. We've talked about that before.
Taylor, didn't he not announce when somebody went and posted on our Facebook page about Bobby Kennedy? He hadn't announced yet, had he?
No, he hadn't. And then I just talked about, I was posting about how he sucks, and someone was like, "He's a great Democrat." I'm like, "No, he's not. He's a fucking vaccine denier piece of crap,
It's gonna
conspiracy
be,
theorist."
dude. It's gonna be interesting because that's my take on it too. I'm like, there's no chance this guy gets more than 20 feet through the primary without getting just bashed over the skull with his anti-vax stuff. And then I was like, dude, I thought the same thing about Trump. I literally said the exact same stuff about Trump.
But I
And
think
became
we're different.
president.
It's different. It's just different. Like I feel like it's well, no, okay, maybe I'm wrong because the thing that Trump does is it validates people's hate and their stupidity. So if you're a Democrat, you're looking for someone to validate your stupidity. Bobby Kennedy's your guy,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
But
he just like he might scratch a very specific itch. And who knows what happens, right? Who knows what the Republicans do, which ends up taking swing voters to one side or the other. Like, there's so much to be defined yet, but it's
how can you be a fucking swing voter?
I don't know. Dude, God, it was like, was it Bill Maher who was like, if you are undecided, you must have like a brain tumor. Like, remember this? It was like the 2016 election. It was like, how do
That's
you go
fair.
into the last like 2 weeks of the election
And those are the people
undecided?
who make who
To make all the
matter.
decisions. Yeah, they make all the
Ugh.
decisions. It's just like think about that, Taylor. The least informed of
I
all of
know.
us define all of our futures. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and during all these things, there's just people like trying to survive, and then you can be like, I don't know, I don't care about it. It doesn't affect me, but like it does. So that's why you have to care about it. But also just try to live your life. I don't know.
I can see our next podcast being political.
Should we battle? Should we just have like a battle it out on like a field and everybody gets to wear armor? No
I think that's
guns.
called a civil war.
Just really, oh, it is. Oh no.
I think you're advocating for civil war.
I backed into that one.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
happens. It happens.
Well, oh my God. So my aunt and uncle are traveling through the country right now. And they just went to Gettysburg, and we have like a great, 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 great grandfather who died there on the bad side. He was baddie. And which is terrible, and like I feel gross about it. But there's like a tavern that our family used to own, like some gravestones and like plaques to be like, oh, the family was like a big family there in that area, which is cool. It's cool to like know that about them. But then my aunt was saying that the bones of the Confederate soldiers were like my great 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 whatever grandpa's bones would have been in that pile. In the 1960s, a bunch of like women like raised money in Virginia to have them taken back to Virginia. And I'm like, those fucking racist bitches in 1960 being like, this is what we're going to spend our money on. Let's dig up these Confederate soldiers and bring their bones back south.
That's when you don't have anything else going on,
Oh my
right? Like, you have
God.
nothing. Like, they should have raised a child into thinking that they have leukemia. Like, that would have
Oh,
given their life more purpose. But like,
I know.
I don't know, there's part of me like, I also buy into the whole we are a product of the time we were born into. And also, like, there's gotta be a cutoff. Like, if you think
Yeah.
owning people is good, that has to be the cutoff point. Like,
Yep.
there's a Rubicon I can't cross, and that's probably the one.
That's exactly. Like you can't be smart and also think that's okay. You can't be both.
Which,
Because it's
like,
dumb.
again, Ratzinger, this fucking guy, like, why did, again, I understand it, right? You're raised in a time, but also, I don't know, maybe the Germans didn't know what Hitler was doing to the Jews. Maybe, like, they thought, like, oh, we're just trying to support our own nation. Like, I don't, maybe, like, it was okay being a Nazi back then because you didn't know what they were doing. I don't
I think
know.
you knew what you wanted to know. You know,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, like in now and then in all these cases, like you know what you need to know to survive, and whether that's like, okay, I need to like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna finally have permission to be an asshole, so I'm gonna do it. Or you're like, I'm gonna ignore it because I'm busy with my life, and then all of a sudden it's so many bad things have happened and you've let them happen,
yeah.
you
That's a good
know?
point. I like that. I like that framing on it. Thank
So
God
we're
we're not
all
gonna be like that, Taylor. Me and you.
I was just gonna say we're all complicit in the shit show we're living in right now. But
I've
you said the opposite, so
I've done nothing wrong to anybody ever. Um,
I'm just trying to survive. But yeah, I want to know more medieval stories. I think it's super fun. A medieval battle sounds dope as hell and real scary and scary as shit to see those Teutonic knights coming at you. I feel like they wore like the white robes with like a big like red cross on it, or like a big black cross, and they're just like coming to kill you. They didn't
dude,
do it.
Ben Foster, the movie I was thinking about was Alpha Dog. Remember that one?
I don't know. Let me see.
Justin Timberlake was in it. Ben Foster played a Jewish neo-Nazi, which was incredible. And Justin Timberlake and his friends kidnapped Ben Foster's stepbrother, and like that's how they all kind of got tied in together because Ben Foster owed him drug money.
Huh.
Never seen it?
No, this is definitely a product of its time, though. I'm watching the trailer.
No, it's a good one. It's a good one. It's actually a true story. Like it actually legitimately happened.
Bruce Willis is in it?
Yeah, Bruce Willis is in it. Sharon Stone is in it. Justin Timberlake. There's two really famous actors who one of them ended up dying.
Oh, Anton Yelchin, the guy who died in the
Yes,
thing. That was terrible.
yes, his Jeep crushed him.
Oh, what an awful way to die.
But he was in it. He was the kid who ends up getting killed in real life too. It's a good watch. It's a really good watch, especially when you know it's a true story. You're like, and like they actually stayed super close to the source, so like it's
Hmm.
actually how it went down. Like they literally were like, we now are in too deep and have no idea how to extricate ourselves from this situation. We have no choice but to kill this kid. Like that's actually what ended up happening. Like they didn't want to kill him. You know, like we went too far. We have no choice. It's
Whoa,
fucking crazy. Yeah.
that is crazy. That's
Um,
crazy. I don't know, I feel like we have a lot of morals of this story today.
don't be a Nazi and don't be a pope. You know what? If you can prevent being a, if somebody ever asks you to be a pope or to create a papacy at home, don't do it.
I don't know. I feel like
Or
it's kind of fun.
or do it and call yourself an anti-pope, which is like a
Yes,
dope ass thing to call yourself.
that's exactly it. Be like, bring the jewels to me instead, y'all. I'll get you into heaven.
Yeah,
I'll write you a receipt.
yeah.
And yeah, 100% anti-pope.
Yeah. Oh, start your own church then. Go all the way.
Why not?
Why
Like,
not?
nothing could possibly go wrong. You'll be fine.
What are you doing the rest of the night?
Oh my God, we're gonna watch Succession. Don't tell me. Have you watched it? Don't tell me anything.
No, I don't watch Succession.
Okay, today's
I've
the
watched
last
like three
episode.
episodes.
Today's the last episode, and so I'm very excited slash nervous slash all the things. And wait, I'm on my phone. I have to like stop talking to you because I cannot be on my computer for the next hour and a half because I don't want to accidentally see something.
Okay, yeah, fair
Because
enough.
people on the East Coast have seen it and I just can't. So, but yeah, I'm very excited.
Cool. That
Yeah.
sounds fun.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna go smoke a cigar and
Oh,
play fetch with Luna.
I had a dream that I bought a pack of Marlboro Reds, which is like not what I would buy if I was buying cigarettes, but I was like real excited about it.
Taylor, I don't like to smoke cigarettes, but I would definitely, if you come here next time and we like get drunk, we
No,
will definitely get a pack of cigarettes.
100% no, I can't because then I would be a smoker. But if we ever are like
No,
the
but
world's
once, if you did it once,
no,
like
no, mm-mm. I know,
it's so
nope,
fun
nope.
though. It's so
No, I
fun.
know. That's why I dream about it, and I know I can't do it. But if ever like the world's definitely going to end in 5 years, then I'm smoking like immediately. I'm going to go buy 10 cases of cigarettes. So, well,
Dude, I'm not wrong, right, Taylor? Like smoking's fun.
It's the best. The
It's
fucking
so
best.
fun.
I love it. Yeah.
So when I was in Ireland, I took this one or somebody, I forgot who it was, it might have been John, who took a picture of me, and I was in my 3-piece suit with my pocket watch, and I had my leg up, and I was like smoking a cigarette, and I looked
Oh,
so cool,
it makes you
so
so
cool,
cool.
so cool, and I was just like, I can never use this picture anywhere. Like I can't use it on social media, on professional social media. I can't use it on dating apps, like nothing. But it's like the coolest picture of me that's ever been. I'm gonna text it to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you sent it to me. No, I remember I smoked cigarettes for a long time, and then when Juan and I were dating, first starting to date, I did, and then he was like, "We would never have found each other on dating apps because you would have said you smoked, and I wouldn't, and I would never have dated someone who smoked." And I was like, "I would have lied. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, you got.
100% would have lied."
Yeah, who actually is themselves on a dating app?
I've never been on one, but I'm pretty sure I would have lied about being a smoker.
Okay, Taylor, did you get my text message? It's
Oh
coming
my
through
God,
right now.
can't wait.
Dude, look at those boots. Look at the boots, the 3-piece
Uh,
suit. Like it is the coolest.
shit.
Dude, I got the beads, I got the pocket watch, the 3-piecer. Like it is. It's on point, and I can't use it anywhere. Such a waste.
I know. I know. Well, I mean, yeah, I wish that there was more research into making cigarettes not kill you because I would love to start smoking again.
I mean, if this podcast doesn't take off, that can be our get rich plan is safe smoking.
I'm sure they would have done it if they could. Like all
Yeah,
those people who smoke Juul pods whose lungs are falling apart, So
this, like I said, I think this will kill you. Like this is so much worse than smoking a cigarette. I can feel it like killing me right now.
yeah, those